Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Yango Show. We are live and it is May 19th, 2025. Let's get us on the screen. Why am I not on the screen? Where are we? Oh my God, look at that.
There
We
we
are
are.
here.
There
We
we
are
are.
live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Yango Show. My name is Yango, and of course, I'm joined by Billy TKO. What an eventful weekend. And definitely a lot to talk about. SmackDown, Collision, just a whole bunch of random wrestling stuff. Tonight we got Raw, so we'll probably preview a little bit of that and talk about what we want to see on Raw tonight and
Yep.
what's being advertised. If you guys want to support the show, there's multiple ways to do so. All you got to do is literally just click that subscribe button. You could click like. Let's lower the camera a little bit. There we go.
There it is.
There it is. We looking good. Everything's looking good. I think the stream is performing good. We're live on my channel, Billy's channel, Twitter. It's been crazy. It's been hectic. We're trying to get the TikTok thing going. I want to be live on TikTok.
We're working so hard for it.
Why is it such a pain in the ass to go live on TikTok?
I have no idea, but it's getting annoying.
It's getting annoying, guys. It's getting annoying, but we'll get there eventually.
We will.
We will get there eventually. But the good news is we're here. We're live now. We're talking. I appreciate everybody for giving us an extra few minutes. We were just trying to get the stream and everything set up. It could always be worse. It could have been, while you guys are watching the Angle Show live, maybe The Rock would come and take over the show.
Dude, should we just play like a quick 6 seconds of Black Adam?
Black Adam? Oh, my God. Dude, I do want to talk about that, and we'll have to get to that. Because,
yeah, for sure.
This was news to me. And then, obviously, Tony Khan, I'm looking at his Twitter, and we'll show people his response to everything. But
yes,
definitely not a good look for AEW. But who knows? If at any point in time Black Adam just interrupts our live stream, just know that it wasn't us, and it was probably The Rock, because TKO is trying to undermine the Ango Show. What?
Oh, my goodness. They don't want us on the air.
They don't want us on the air. No way. No, it's crazy though, because obviously it was news to me that AEW Collision got cut off, which is, we'll definitely talk about it. But
yeah, that's good. It's gonna be a fun conversation.
Yeah, this might be one of those episodes, guys, where it's full of randomness and silliness, and
there wasn't like a whole lot this weekend, which is honestly quite nice.
Yeah,
right? No news is most of the time good news.
Nah, not for me.
Well, for me, for somebody who doesn't cover the news,
yeah,
it's not too bad. I'm not too mad at it.
Yeah. Well, the problem is, like, for me, I love when we're watching wrestling, and I love when there's a lot to talk about in wrestling, and it's weird because now it's after WrestleMania, and this month honestly started off really hot with things to talk about with wrestling.
For sure.
And, it's our job to keep the conversations flowing. And I think even when we don't have a lot of stuff happening in wrestling, we still have a lot to talk about, which is cool, because then you get episodes like this, which there's a lot of random gems. So definitely excited about that.
Never know what you're going to find in these episodes.
Yeah. And we got a couple hundred people watching. So if you guys could just do me a favor and click the like button or retweet this video, this live stream, I would greatly appreciate it. If you guys want, as you guys know, we do have a super chat goal that is active. It always means the world when we hit the super chat goal. If you guys want to contribute, your takes, your opinions, your comments, your input helps drive the conversation forward. And I'm excited because not only does it grant you priority, obviously we're going to read it, but we also like to look at the chat. And sometimes you never know what's going to happen. Just last week, we had a viewer join us for a nice little healthy debate. And, it's always fun when you have those random episodes. So definitely a lot to talk about. Definitely a lot to preview, because this weekend that we're going into, it's Memorial Day weekend as well. So this week we will have our Saturday night's main event predictions. We'll do Battleground as well as Double or Nothing.
Right.
And that should be fun. But let's get all that out of the way. Billy.
Yeah.
Talk to me, bro. AEW Collision. Let's explain to those who don't know what's happened. I want to hear from you.
So let's just dive directly into the conversation. So I was not present. I was not watching Collision, but I woke up Sunday. So Saturday I had my girlfriend's birthday, so we celebrated her. Sunday I wake up, I go on Twitter. I'm seeing a whole bunch of Collision is off the air. Numerous things had happened the last 30 minutes. Apparently, Collision just had been like, they had a screen pop up, and on this screen, I think it said something along the lines of like your stream had ended, and that might have been on the Max side. I'm not sure. Like, it's just all very confusing, but ultimately Collision was sent off of the air. And it was the last 30 minutes of Collision was replaced by Black Adam, which, if you guys don't know, is a movie that The Rock stars in. And in this movie, it's really funny because it didn't like do like crazy well in the box office, but apparently the viewers were looking forward to Black Adam. So much so that Collision had gotten booted off the air. So kind of interesting. But obviously Tony Khan had came out. He had tweeted that there had been some technical difficulties. How true that is, that's what we're here to debate, right? That's what we're here to talk about, is how true is that? Were there actual technical difficulties, or was this just Warner Brothers Discovery looking at the Collision numbers and being like, yes, we don't want anything to do with this right now? Because on top of that, on top of the technical difficulties tweet, it was also supposed to go on Max. The last 30 minutes was supposed to be on Max, HBO Max, whatever it's called. They've changed the name 50 times. From my understanding, I'm not sure if it is yet, but it was supposed to be immediately following. And from my understanding, it is not there. So that is a very, very telling, interesting thing to talk about, because of the fact that it was supposed to be immediate.
Yeah. So I watched Collision because I am a proud AEW sicko. And for me, watching Collision live, it's just so difficult sometimes when you're interrupted, because I thought it was a solid episode. It was a solid episode. It was fine. It is what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is very alarming to me. And I know that a lot of people are going to be kind of annoyed when I say this, but how am I supposed to have faith in Warner Bros. Discovery, AEW, HBO Max?
Yep.
Like, you have promised us a while ago that pay-per-views will be on HBO Max. We still haven't gotten that. Their technology hasn't been improved upon for that to happen. So in the meantime, you get pay-per-views that you could pay for on Amazon Prime or whatever. And like, that's cool. But what I was hoping for is that we would see the beginning of a beautiful blossoming relationship between Warner and AEW. And then
for sure,
when I see something like this, I kind of get disappointed, because nobody wants to be interrupted when they're watching a TV show. That's one thing, right? But also, when you're a fan of professional wrestling and you're promised something and then you don't get that promise, it's difficult, man. It's like one of those things where, I don't know. For those who don't know, I'll show you guys the tweet. Actually, I'll pull it up because I think it's a good idea to share the screen. So let's do that. Share screen.
Switch us over.
Let's switch it over.
Hopefully we don't run into any technical difficulties.
You never know. I mean, the thing is, you kind of expect it from a YouTuber, right? You don't expect it from,
a whole TV production.
Yeah, it's actually not. I don't think it's going to let me share a screen, or maybe it will.
It should.
Can you see it? Can you guys see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we got the Tony Khan thing right here. There are ongoing transmission issues on tonight's Saturday AEW Collision. I'm so sorry, but we were all expecting a full version of play on TNT Drama West. But right now, an ongoing technical issue that all believed to be fixed is still affecting the transmission of the final half hour, even on TNT West. We will get the full show up on Stream on Max ASAP, and I'm very sorry for this hassle. So that's Tony Khan's response to that. I don't know. How am I supposed to have confidence in HBO Max and AEW when we're constantly seeing technical issues? And I know you were saying something about you were saying something about the like, oh, maybe like they're looking at the numbers and they're not happy. I don't think that has anything to do with it, but I have a hard time believing that AEW is truly a priority for Warner Bros.
Well, okay. So when I say looking at the numbers, right, I know we have this numbers discussion. I'm not the biggest fan of the numbers discussion myself.
Yeah.
But I do think that at some point it maybe plays a little bit of a factor, right? Especially on a show that you spent, what, like $185 million on? I think that was, I think that was the number. and you see that maybe it's not delivering the way that you want it to deliver. And with that, you have to take a look and be like, oh man, like, is this worth continuing on? Or does TNT, Warner Brothers, whatever, do they need to look at AEW and say, hey, it's either we're taking this off the air or you got to get it together. One of these two things have to happen.
And so continue. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you
I was just going to say, because again, we talk all the time about a lot of wrestling, right? We have a lot of wrestling that we take in and we consume on a weekly basis. They are competing with my Saturday night. We've talked about this numerous times. This Saturday, I was very busy. I could not watch, right? And I can imagine a lot of people couldn't watch.
Yeah.
Because not only is Collision, to me, not exciting, at the end of the day, it just overall doesn't do what a Saturday show is supposed to do. I'm supposed to be fulfilled. I'm supposed to have things that are constantly connected to what is happening on Wednesday. But instead, I'm getting random matches that are filled in together. And you could say whatever you want. I know people have their opinions or whatever. At the end of the day, a lot of Collision is filler. And yes, it is pre-taped. I'm aware of that. That also takes away a little bit of the feeling.
Yeah,
right?
No, for sure. Yeah.
So we have to look at that, and that plays effect. Do you need to go back live?
So one thing that I want to point out too, and I saw this comment by our good friend Phil, and I love this comment by Phil because he says, if you're gonna have to still pay for the pay-per-view even with your Max subscription, is it worth it? So the problem is with HBO Max, right? A lot of people I don't think have actually realized the notion that like HBO Max is not a successful streaming property. And the thing is, when you now have technical issues, and they've had technical issues, and then I get it, you're going to have your kinks, right? Like people had their issues with Netflix, people had their issues with every streaming app when they come out. You know, there was people who had issues, by the way, with like Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. I didn't experience those issues, but people did, right?
I did. Yeah. I was one who did.
So the thing is with streaming, it's like, man, AEW is, there's people who don't pay for cable, but they pay for an HBO Max subscription. I'm one of those people. Like I have an HBO Max subscription. I don't know what I pay for. I pay, I think $19.99. I want to say.
Yeah,
I could be wrong.
It's somewhere along there.
I'm sure there's cheaper models, whatever. But I want to say I'm close to that price, right? Now, for me, if I don't pay for cable, but I pay for the streaming service, and then my show gets cut off 30 minutes, it's not a good streaming experience. So now imagine you're adding live pay-per-views where we know AEW has indicated to us they will still be charging for pay-per-views. They're not going to be for free, right?
Right.
And so to me, that's where I have a little bit of borderline trust issues with AEW. You see Tony Khan's tweet, and it's like, oh, we're going to have the full version. Well, the full version isn't up. That's a problem. And here's another thing too. And this is something I really want to elaborate on. And this is why I appreciate Phil's comments so much. He says the key words, is it worth it? And then you and I have had several conversations about Saturdays. Saturdays are a time where people are with family and friends. We're getting ready for the summer. People don't realize, like, I don't care how this sounds, because I know some people will be like, Ango wants to sound too cool for everybody on YouTube. If my entire life is revolved around my job, which it is, and I love that, and I'm not complaining about it, how do I enjoy regular life if my life is constantly surrounded by watching everything pro wrestling and talking about it? How do you have some sort of work-life balance, right? So I'm not saying AEW and WWE has to cater to me specifically, but like, you get a Saturday night's main event, one every quarter or whatever it may be, no big deal. You get an AEW pay-per-view once every few months on a Saturday night, no big deal, you know?
Yeah.
But you do Collision on Saturdays, and I'm choosing to watch Collision instead of going out, and I'm paying money to watch it. Shouldn't I feel some sort of way when it doesn't work?
Yeah, I'm supposed to have some type of satisfaction.
Yes, and I don't know what it is, and I have a story to tell everybody. But and please bear with me, because I like to bring analogies into the real world, right?
Storyteller.
I went to a restaurant. It's a new brunch spot, right? And I went yesterday to a new brunch spot, and I was like, wow, like 30-minute wait to get in. Okay, no big deal. You could kill some time, whatever, right? We get there. Nobody greets us. We get seated. Nobody greets us. Nobody brings us a water. Nobody brings us drinks. Nobody takes a drinks order. Nothing like that, right?
Yeah.
So then I'm in a situation where it's like, okay, I just waited 30 minutes for that. It took about 25 minutes for somebody to bring us drinks. And this is a restaurant that's a relatively new restaurant, right? And so nobody even brought waters or even took a drink order for 20 minutes. So that's left us with 50 minutes just waiting to get in and get seated and have at least a cold drink, which, by the way, yesterday was a very, very hot day in Michigan. So then you finally get the chance to take your order. And the first thing that's said to you is, what do you want? Right?
Yeah.
This is a new business. And they say, what do you want?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the waitress was having a bad day. Maybe she's new. I'm not sure.
It just wasn't.
It just was.
The verbiage there wasn't necessarily correct.
Exactly. Kind of a weird situation.
Yeah.
And then finally we get to put in our food order, and the food takes an hour to come out. Okay, well, guess what? The food was really freaking good, bro. The food for brunch, like, I don't know. For us in Michigan, we have brunch spots everywhere. Very, very good. Very good food. Very fresh, healthy. No toxins. Like, you could tell they're not cooking with seed oils and stuff. Like,
Yep.
My stomach wasn't hurting after eating this. So the food was good, but the service itself was bad.
Okay.
Now, for example, how inclined am I willing to come back to this brunch spot?
Well, it's probably a 50-50 right now, right?
It's probably a 30-70.
Right.
Because no matter how good the product is, your experience is still bad.
Right, exactly. When one thing goes bad, it's like, okay, you get a lot of, like, this is like the honest truth as a content creator. You get a lot of love for people, but it's the hate that is noticed a little bit more because it triggers something in you.
Well, it's an emotional reaction.
It's an emotional reaction.
Yeah, you have emotions. Nobody wants to feel like shit. But
so, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say nobody wants to feel like shit. But the problem though is when you have a really good product but the service is bad, you're not willing to go back because of the amount of time that you've wasted, right? So my point that I'm making, and the reason why I want to tell this story, and I hope my viewers here, I hope everybody watching understands where I'm coming from, and they understand this, right? I might be willing to go back to that brunch spot, and maybe I would be fine with a different waitress, right? But the place wasn't overly busy. The place was not like, it's just a smaller place. So that's why there's a little bit of a wait. It's not like some massive restaurant that you walk in and there's a whole bunch of seats everywhere. The amount of access that people have to this place is minimal based on their seating capacity. So the thing is, the service was terrible, but the food was good. But we waited almost like 2 hours, right? So now I'm in a situation where if the product is good, but the service is bad, how do I go back for the product? Now imagine what that does to me when you're watching Collision, a product that you pay for,
and it's stripped from you,
and it gets stripped, and then you can't watch the rest of it. And then they tell you, well, hey, we're going to put it immediately on the app, and it's not there.
You create like I've said it before, right? You guys remember that time where I was trying to get back into AEW, trying to defend them a little bit more, trying to understand where things were coming from. AEW has continuously stripped my trust away from them. And I tend to go back more and more and more and more just because, right? At one point, I was a huge AEW I loved everything that they were doing.
Yeah.
And now I have the owner of AEW telling me something directly, saying, hey, this is going to be here the next day or even just a couple hours after.
Yeah.
And it's not there. And we're Sunday, Monday, 2 days removed, right?
Yeah.
And I have nothing. You're now creating that trust barrier.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to trust anything that you're going to tell me? How am I supposed to trust when a pay-per-view or whatever, how am I supposed to trust you that you're going to put on the best show? How am I supposed to trust you that I'm going to be able to sit down with my time that I'm giving to you and be able, and I know this maybe sounds dramatic because it is just, maybe it's a one-time thing, two-time thing, but regardless of the fact, it's happening and it's taking away from my time, and you are trying to earn my time as a businessman. That is your goal. That is the effort that you are putting in, and I am not feeling very trustworthy towards you. I don't trust the things that you're saying. And that sucks because I do have a lot of love for AEW. It's always been there, right? It'll never go away because of the experiences that AEW has given me. But the problem is that when I look at it today, I don't feel the same way maybe I did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever.
Yeah. So
hold on. I do want to cover one more thing. Nats fan. He says, but Billy, you just said you didn't watch, so your time wasn't wasted. No, you're absolutely right. My time wasn't specifically wasted that day. Imagine if I watch next week. Again, we talk about trust. Imagine if I watch next week and the same thing happened. Would we be able to say, would that be the same response that you were giving me right then and there? Just a question.
Yeah. I think it's tough because it's unlike the restaurant, AEW's product is not as satisfactory to me. You know what I mean? So you have to think, right? Like if I go to this restaurant again, I know I'll probably get good food, but I probably won't get good service. With AEW, I don't feel as if I'm necessarily getting a great product consistently.
Right.
And I think that's where for AEW, this is kind of troublesome because of the fact that you have to look at it from a perspective of the time that you give and devote to something. It's very difficult. And it goes back to the conversation of it's not Angos trying to sound cool, but like Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays, like I don't mind watching wrestling, but in the summer, I do want to be outside. I do want to have a little bit of a work-life balance.
For sure.
So the thing is, like, if this happened on, let's say Collision was on Thursdays and it happened on Thursday, maybe I wouldn't be as bothered by it or whatever it may be. Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, too, I don't think like even for WWE, this happened to WWE, by the way. People forget, like when SmackDown was on Fox, there was a hard out at 10 p.m.
Yep.
So even not 30 minutes earlier, but at 10 p.m., sometimes they would be in the middle of something that gets cut off. Like that would be WWE would literally upload a digital exclusive online for everybody who missed it, right?
Yeah.
But imagine if WWE SmackDown ended 30 minutes earlier on a Friday night. I would sit here and be like, well, bro, like, what are you doing? Yeah. Right. And so the thing is, when AEW Collision gets booted off 30 minutes before and there's a technical issue, okay, things happen. There's kinks, there's problems, whatever. But let's talk about the HBO Max streaming service. How easy is it to find AEW live on HBO Max?
I have to search it.
For some reason, I always have to search for it.
Yes.
That is not comfortable to me. That is not a unique experience to me.
No, because again, here's the WWE comparison, but this is the only place I can compare the wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Is when I go on Netflix. Netflix tells me, okay, you've watched this show a nice amount of times, and maybe it doesn't pop up for everybody, right? But they know I'm a continuous watcher. I am constantly watching what they are doing, right?
Yeah.
So it's always on my front screen. Raw is always there.
Yeah, always. Yeah. It reminds me. It sends me a notification on my iPhone too. Live event starting in 15 minutes.
Yes. So HBO does not give me that same experience. They're this is what's on our screen, and then that's it, right? But WWE is constantly telling me like, hey, yeah, here's our show right when you want it at the exact time. You know, it's just it's a tough. It's tough, man, because I understand that HBO Max is supposed to be such a huge deal for AEW. I just feel like it hasn't been utilized correctly. And I think that's on both their ends.
So the thing is, though, right, with HBO Max, like it goes back to Phil's comment that he left in the chat earlier, though. Like, if you got to pay for the pay-per-view, like, is it worth it, right?
That's what I'm saying. Because at that point, right, like I'm somebody who does have cable, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to pay for HBO Max.
Yeah. But I do. If I want to watch AEW, that's how I have to watch it.
Exactly. So you have to watch with HBO Max.
Yeah.
Now the question is, And this is the question. This is the question that we are all going to have trouble answering because everybody's answer is going to be different. Is it worth your money, your $20, and maybe not you, because obviously you do this for a job, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But is it worth your $20 if you are not enjoying the product? Does HBO Max's catalog fit your bill of need?
This is an interesting question. I'm going to tell you why, too.
Go ahead.
Okay. Now, this is going to sound strange, probably. Prior to last year, I used to do a lot of binge watching. Like, I would talk about it on my streams. Like, I would Netflix, Apple TV Plus. Like, I was trying to find new shows and just binge watch it. So it didn't matter what it was. It could have been an old sitcom. It could have been an exclusive that was made for Hulu.
Just
or made
trying
for
to watch something.
Yes, that's just the way I was. Every night after wrestling, after I did my live streams, because back then we did post shows, right? Mm-hmm. After doing a post show, I would try to fall asleep. So every night I would just watch as many episodes of a show I could. So that's why I enjoyed streaming, right? Yeah. I enjoyed streaming so much more than cable for the simple fact that it was like, man, if I want to watch something new, thankfully Netflix and all these companies are creating like new content that are
have their own docuseries, numerous.
Yes. But they also upload old shows and have a nice library. Exactly, so for me, HBO Max was really, really good at one point. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah. I used HBO Max every single day. There were shows and things that I watched on HBO Max that I had to watch.
Well, I'll tell you, it's funny because HBO Max, I have not been a big fan of for a long time.
So in the past year, and I'm just being honest, not that shows have gotten progressively worse or better, I can't say, but my viewing habits have literally changed to where I was just watching Pistons games and wrestling.
So things, as time goes on, things develop, right? That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Netflix has developed a new experience.
Yeah.
The experience watching Netflix is totally opposite than the experience of watching HBO Max, because not only can I get this live entertainment that I'm being fulfilled by with Netflix, right? But I'm also being able to watch my football games, and I'm a huge football fan, and I know they do the Christmas Day specials. Yeah. But not only can I watch them there, I can watch them on cable as well. But the difference is on Netflix, the viewing experience is a lot different, right? Kind of how we talked about AEW as well. AEW's experience on Max was always just a tad bit better, but
something about the quality of
the quality felt better, right? Now, the thing about it is we talk about like TV shows and where they're at. Again, Netflix, they create their own stuff and it's intriguing. You know, I'm a big documentary watcher and I'm always watching like some kind of documentary. And Netflix offers that. I'm not a big binge watcher of old shows. It's just not what I do. HBO Max, I understand that maybe they got 1, 2, maybe 3 good shows that people will go out and watch, whatever. But is that enough to keep you around? Is that enough? I know the other day I actually used it for the first time because they did have one movie that I grew up a huge fan of. It's the movie 61. If I have any baseball fans out there,
never heard of it.
It's a movie. That's a whole different topic. But regardless of the fact, I was able to pinpoint HBO Max as the streaming spot to watch it.
Yeah.
My viewing experience was fine, but regardless of the fact, I couldn't think of anything else other than that in AEW that I would have used it for.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And that's why I said my experiences have changed. Like I haven't started like there's a show that I was watching for a while called Severance, you know, and I have Apple TV Plus or whatever. And I watched the first season and I loved it and I was so obsessed with it. And then I never went back and watched the rest.
Right.
So like I've kind of fallen off with viewing habits, which is why for me, I have a tendency to kind of be annoyed with when like there's issues with streaming services or whatever. Like my value for HBO Max right now currently is because of AEW.
Mm-hmm.
I know like they did the Penguin series, but I never went back to watch it.
Yeah.
I know if I want to watch it, I could, but maybe this is also where I truly wish things would change. And listen, maybe in the next year or so, I see myself going more physical copies. This is where the conversation goes totally like off the cuff, but like everything is digitized these days.
Yeah.
So what has happened is, you know, Netflix and HBO Max, and this has always been my gripe with all of them, is that they don't have to keep the shows and movies on there. So sometimes there's like a really good series or something that's been uploaded, that's from the archives, and they put it on there, and then eventually they take it out. I see myself like the way the society has changed is that everything has become digital download or streaming. I personally hate that. I want to build a collection of Blu-rays, and like, because
once my sister does that. My sister,
yeah, I want, like, I'm telling you, like, I don't know what it's gonna be. But when you have the Blu-rays, the only thing that you have to worry about is having something to play it. So like, I don't know, if I can't remember if the PS4 does it, but I have a Blu-ray player somewhere. But like, I would rather just get DVDs and Blu-rays and just watch it that way, because
the experience and what it's gonna be.
Yeah, and dude, like, I don't know, like, there's just something cool about that. To me, when I see all this AEW not working on Max, it reminds me of the days when AEW used to do pay-per-views on Bleacher Report. And when it used to be on Bleacher Report Live and there was issues, it was like, okay. Like, I was not as mad because either I got refunded or the pay-per-view was right there uploaded, or like they did good customer service, right? But then that was also when they were a new company and they were just trying out new things. Max streaming service has been around for years, and they do other live sports. It's not like AEW is the only live sport being simulcasted. So it just that was my big gripe about it. And that's why I think for AEW, it sucks, because it goes back to my restaurant analogy that I had. Like, there is that experience of, if the service is bad, you're probably not going to come back. And at least my product was good, but my service was so bad that I don't think I would go back to it. I genuinely think, like, if I ever go back, like, it wasn't like the food was like, oh my God, it's so amazing, I have to have it again, bro. It's brunch. We have millions of brunch spots in Michigan. So, but do you know what I mean? Like, but if the product isn't as desirable and your service is not desirable, you're never coming back. And with AEW, it kind of feels like, man, if this keeps becoming an issue, and okay, you got booted off, then why isn't it on Max? Why can't I go watch it? And I think that, to me, is something that just angers me. Don't tell me it's going to be uploaded and then it's not. And the thing is, because I'm not binge watching as much these days and I'm not watching on anything on HBO Max, then I got to decide, is it really worth keeping my service? Now, yes, this is my job, and I understand that, and that's why I have to keep it. But I am not forced to talk about AEW. I
by
choose
no
to
stretch.
do so.
By no stretch.
AEW, I've been on the record saying this. AEW is not a big moneymaker for the Ango show or anything like that. It's really not.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Right now, it's not a heart. It's not a, what's the word? It's not a, for me, and this is just me. This is me talking, and I'm just going to go ahead. Now I'm going to sound like Triple H's biggest fan, but the experience for AEW with me has not been great, just being honest. So there we go.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And now I do want to I want to preface, because I see a lot of people in the chat, AEW hater. Of course you guys saying that. I know. I get it. We all sound like them, right? The difference though is it's not about AEW hate, because me personally, I've been on record saying this numerous times. I don't want to see anything happen to AEW, but how I view my wrestling is much different than maybe how you guys view your wrestling, right? That's just how it is.
Well, I've grown to accept one thing.
What's that?
I've grown to accept this. I don't care what I'm labeled as when it comes to AEW or
I don't either.
Yeah,
I don't either.
It's no longer.
It's past me.
I know my viewers, my OG viewers especially, like, they know, like, a lot of the stuff I'm saying in 2025 is literally the stuff I'm saying 5 years ago. So it's like, I'm getting tired of it, and this is why people have stopped covering AEW. And the thing is, like, if you were constantly sitting there, and this is my big gripe with professional wrestling coverage in general, it's like, if we're not allowed to criticize it, and you're just labeled as a hater, like, bro, move on with your life. Go do something else. Like, you're not enjoying wrestling at all. Because my thing about my channel that's been so unique to me is that it's real-time analysis. Like, it's real-time, like, thoughts and opinions that, like, and you could just see so much consistency with what I say. And the thing is, I want people to understand who I am. So yeah, maybe I am random. Maybe on other wrestling talk shows, people aren't giving the analogies of their experiences at a brunch spot. But that's the way I view my life. Like, I look at it from that perspective of, like,
things are often an analogy, right?
Yes.
Because you can bring things back into your real life.
Yes. And I don't know, to me personally, like my channel is at a time where like things are going well. The Ango Show is doing great things. TikTok and YouTube's doing great things. And I love the fact that I have the ability to talk about things in real time. So if I am in a situation where I don't agree with something that's happening, I'm giving you guys the perspective of a consumer that pays for something.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things. Like it would be, it's like watching a food critic go and talk shit about the restaurant I was just at, but they didn't eat there and they didn't experience it themselves.
So they don't really know.
They're not impacted by it, but they're a food critic, right? Like it's not fair. So the thing is, like when somebody watches wrestling and they say, "Hey, I don't like this, I like this," nobody's I don't need people to agree or disagree. That's not the point. But the point is to have those conversations and say, "Hey, this is why I think it's wrong. This is what I would like to see differently." And I think that's the one unique thing about the Ango Show that is like, if we talk about problems in professional wrestling, or maybe not even necessarily problems, but sometimes we could be talking about things that are currently happening on television that are good, but things that they could still do differently, right? It opens up a whole world of conversation, and that's why we have such an engaging chat. And so that's why I do feel like the criticism that I have towards AEW Collision and this Max thing, like HBO Max is a streaming service that, by the way, just so people are aware, they fall short on a lot of things when it comes to numbers. Like HBO Max, they've had to do 5 name and branding changes throughout the years. They merged with the Discovery streaming app, and both of them were 2 failed streaming apps losing money. Mark my words, it's going to happen. HBO Max, Warner Bros. Discovery will begin to sell off intellectual properties. They will start leasing their content to other providers to make money because there is no true value to the app. The NBA is gone. MLB, NHL do not provide as much value. AEW,
the NBA is going to Peacock, aren't they?
They're going to NBC and Peacock, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So the thing is, like, I understand the streaming business. Why? Because I worked in that industry. I worked in the industry of knowing things before, like watching it unfold, right? But for so long, I have kind of just seen these things happen, and it sucks because the one reason why I don't cancel my HBO Max is because of the fact that right now behind me, I don't have a physical library of tapes, right? But maybe when I do get that physical library of DVDs and Blu-rays, maybe I don't need Netflix. Maybe I don't need these things, right?
Yep,
like
you open up the question, do I really need this?
Yes, exactly. And that's kind of the point. And look, we've spent 40 minutes talking about this. Right. It's obviously been a long conversation, but just wanted to kind of throw it out there. It's inexcusable.
For sure.
And it's a service, it's a product and service that needs to be improved upon. I don't care what anybody says.
The conversation just needs to be talked about. That's all.
It does. It has to be talked about. And for me personally, I can't sit there and stay silent on it. It angered me so much watching SmackDown and Fox having a hard out at 10 p.m. So now imagine when you're watching a show and 30 minutes before it's cut off. And then imagine they say, "Oh, don't worry, you'll be able to watch it after." Bro, I got time. I don't got time for that.
Yeah.
So that's a problem. That's a problem for sure.
Agreed.
I do want to get to some super chats. We got a few of them to cover. So I want to shout out Tolino Channel. He dropped a few. He dropped 100 rupees. He says, the moment when Naomi's music hit during women's title match, that's a caution. She is Lady McIntyre. She needs to win Money in the Bank to become legit. Caution. What do you think?
I mean, we're going to do our prediction show, obviously, when Money in the Bank rolls around. Bless you, by the way.
Thank you.
So once that comes around, I'll be able to tell you. Now, here's the thing. Can I see her winning it? Oh, 1,000%. I think she is. I mean, I'll probably just give away my prediction here. I think she's the right person to win it. Yeah. I think it'd be new, right? Yep. It'd be refreshing. She is entertaining to watch. This heel turn, right, has been nothing less than exciting. Her stalking people in the back, yep. All these different things. I love Naomi's character work that she's doing.
Yep.
She deserves it probably more than anybody. I think her and Tiffany Stratton would go on to have a really good feud.
Yep.
They'd put on great matches too. Obviously, we've seen what Tiffany and Nia just did on Friday, so we know that this woman is capable, more than capable,
yeah.
of putting on bangers, right? So I definitely see a world where Naomi wins Money in the Bank.
I definitely want to talk about SmackDown. So if you guys are interested in SmackDown talk, please stay with us because it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Definitely some interesting opinions that I have. Regarding the super chat, though, I do love the comparison to Drew McIntyre.
Absolutely.
To me, I just want to throw this out there. I think this is such a big thing that doesn't often get talked about. Sometimes it's okay to replicate character arcs in wrestling. And so I want to throw this out there. Drew McIntyre has had a whole complete, like, he's just completely killed it, becoming this heel and this nasty guy. And I think WWE has kind of looked at Naomi and said, look, we want to do the same exact thing. That to me is huge.
Absolutely.
I think it's too early for me to offer my Money in the Bank predictions. Obviously, we got these Money in the Bank qualifying matches happening, but I just want to throw it out there that I think Naomi would be the
suitable person.
She is the most suitable, perfect. I think right now, like Tiffany is this, she's very over. Naomi is getting over as a heel.
It's a great counterpart.
What I like about Naomi winning Money in the Bank is if you want to revisit the Jade Cargill thing or Bianca thing, you could prevent the cash in. Because again, sometimes winning Money in the Bank, you don't need to have successful cash ins. I think you could actually get bigger stories and better stories and character evolutions because of losing Money in the Bank. So a perfect example of that is like who was it? Austin Theory. Now, I know people will disagree with me because he lost Money in the Bank, but people felt like he's gone worse since then. Mm-hmm. He lost Money in the Bank, but he was put in such a tough position that if he had successfully cashed in, it would have not gone well for him. Sometimes it's okay for people to lose Money in the Bank. And Austin Theory, when he eventually breaks away from Grayson Waller, will probably be doing big things, right? So, like, It's okay. There's situations where failing cash in. I don't want to talk too much about Money in the Bank just yet. Obviously, we still got some time, but I absolutely love that. Sure. And the comparison to Drew McIntyre, I think, is perfect. I think it's identical.
Love it.
Toledo Channel dropped another 100 rupees. He says SmackDown mid-card scene needs a heel like Julia, maybe Gunther, like scaling, can elevate Julia to main event title picture. She can use mid-card to showcase. Yes. So I want to throw this out there on SmackDown. If you guys missed it, Julia is officially part of the SmackDown women's roster. Great choice moving her away from Roxanne. Great choice putting her in there. Immediately a tease as well. Charlotte, Charlotte and Alexa got something brewing. I think this is a good move for WWE, and I think it's a good move for SmackDown. I think SmackDown is actually becoming very loaded with talent, and now it's just a matter of them making it happen on TV. So you give Julia the United States Championship. There's no pressure for her to go up and become the world champion just yet. She holds it down just like Gunther. Again, replicating someone else's success that worked.
It's perfectly okay.
Yeah, she becomes the women's version of Gunther. She holds the U.S. Women's Championship all the way till WrestleMania next year. Like, that's it. That's what you do. And then there's a lot of credibility behind that, and people will be all on board. And I don't know. I love it. I love when I saw Julia pull up on there. I was very, very happy about that.
Yeah, dude, so was I. I actually got really excited. I thought that was such a cool little, oh, hey, Charlotte, here's the newest member of the SmackDown roster. It's Julia. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. She fits that show perfectly. They needed a big performer from one of these NXT girls, right? They needed somebody like that. Julia I think she'll do well on SmackDown. It's going to be interesting because you just said it a minute ago about their roster becoming more bloated. Becoming a bigger roster. Well, now they are going to be at the end of this month, obviously going down to 2 hours. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go ahead and book this show, knowing that a lot of this is stacked. So an hour from TV has to be pulled. And keep in mind, SmackDown for me has personally become more exciting. Now, granted, that hour is still a little tough, that last hour, but it's going to be interesting to see how. Because obviously we know right now, like that tag team division is so stacked, right?
Yep.
And then we talk about the mid card in the United States Championship. That's stacked to the brim now.
Yeah.
Right? it needs. It's going to be interesting how they emphasize that within 2 hours.
I agree.
It'll be interesting to watch, especially knowing that Cody Rhodes will eventually be back too.
So, and it's it's definitely an interesting thing because if you watch SmackDown, I don't know. I feel like SmackDown was good this week. I personally,
it was great. It was great.
Yeah, like I thought it was a great episode. I don't know. To me personally, I think what it really comes down to is your women's mid card and your women's main event. It's not as clear, for example, like who's really at the top of the division and who's kind of like climbing their ranks.
Yeah.
But I like the idea too of like, okay, Julia goes in there, she wins the women's US championship. This is a championship that was held by, Chelsea Green, but what other feuds were there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't like that massive of an ordeal. I think you can argue that Lyra Valkyria was probably, they were both pretty much defending their belt and doing their thing, but it didn't feel like a prominent, prestigious title just yet being so new.
Right, exactly.
So they accomplished having it introduced, but now you need somebody to take it to that next level. And that's where I think like, okay, hey, this is a really cool idea. You got Naomi lurking in the background, have her go for Money in the Bank. She deserves it for sure. She left WWE, came back. She can do great things. But how do you let Julia come in and not be in the background doing nothing? How do you let Alexa Bliss not do anything? Well, the solution is there. Alexa Bliss, again, copying things that work. Alexa Bliss and Charlotte. For those who missed it, get excited about this because what happened with Bray Wyatt and LA Knight? Bray Wyatt wanted to help LA Knight.
Mm-hmm.
LA Knight didn't want to be helped, right? It resulted in them doing their glow in the dark match, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, Alexa Bliss talking to Charlotte, talking about the days of NXT, things I'll never forget. Charlotte disregards her. Okay, that's really weird. Charlotte alienates herself from everybody in this locker room. She's the drama queen, right? Alexa Bliss is trying to offer an extended hand. Oh, she doesn't want it? Okay, Wyatt 6. Now you got Alexa and Charlotte, the Wyatt 6 thing getting reintroduced. Perfect way to go about it. By the way, it's going to make it really cool because that means Charlotte and Alexa don't have to be tied up for the Women's World Championship. Absolutely. So in the meantime, you got your Julias and your Chelsea Greens and Naomi and Tiffany, and there's a lot of things that could be done there, and I definitely appreciate that.
For sure.
Shout out to Talino Chow for the super chat. Jose Martinez dropping 2 super chats. First one, $4.99. He says, was that a WCW moment when AEW cut the live feed and it was Black Adam? WCW had a lot of shitty moments.
A lot of technical difficulties.
I don't know. I think for AEW, it's not their fault per se. I think it's their fault for not having it uploaded. I think it's their fault for Tony Khan telling people it's technical difficulties and it'll be available on Max. It's not. I think when you have technical issues, you have to own up to it. I think there's always a better way to handle it. I don't blame Tony Khan in the situation though. I think Warner, I think TNT, TBS, Max, I think all those channels, like they're just, I don't know. I think WBD is just dropping the ball and it impacts AEW because at the end of the day, they're the ones who pay the money for it. And one thing I will say is imagine if WWE went to Netflix and there was constant streaming issues. Fans would be pissed off. You're paying for it.
Exactly. It's just about the money that you're paying that, I as a viewer would be upset. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, WCW had numerous amounts of technical difficulties, but I will agree in the sense that I don't think everything that happened here falls on Tony. I think it falls on both, and I think both can be held just as equally as responsible. Talking about Tony and Warner Brothers Discovery, both are allowed to be held just as equally responsible for the bad things that happened, whether it be TNT, Warner Brothers, whatever, not uploading it directly and knowing that Tony is tweeting these things, and then Tony tweeting the things saying like this is going to happen this way, this is how it's going to be done, and then nothing happens.
And there's got to be some sort of synergy between the two companies, and it's they AEW is represented by Warner Bros. Discovery. So at the end of the day, they take responsibility because we are paying for that service for their product.
Exactly.
So it doesn't really matter if that's the case. Like imagine you're paying for Netflix and it's not working. Like it's just not, I don't know.
Yep.
Like, to me, it was just kind of like a weird thing. So
yeah.
Jose followed up with that with another $4.99. He says, why is Angle making me hungry with restaurant brunch and about food with his analysis? Buddy, this is the way it works because I live in the real world, and I tailor everything from pro wrestling to the real world. I talk about my experiences to the real world. I think that's one of the unique things about the Angle show is like, you're going to hear analogies. You're going to hear things that are like, every day. I'm a real human being. I'm not a robot. I live a real life. I have struggles just like you guys have struggles. I'm a normal human being. And I think when I talk about pro wrestling, I like to introduce that side of things. Like, I try to be open-minded to a lot of things and be real about a lot of things, because deep down inside, I think the industry is, no bullshit, bro. I think a lot of people put on these gimmicks for their little talk shows. And I think, when I see what I can do, it's just be me, myself, and who I am. So if you're hungry because I'm talking about food, you just got to realize, man, I went to a new restaurant, and it's supposed to be the cool new thing, and their service was shit. Their product was good, but their service was shit. Now imagine when you're watching a TV show and the service is terrible and then the product isn't as great. You're probably turned off by it, right? Now, the difference is I don't need to eat at that restaurant because there's millions of options. There's a million brunch houses in Michigan. I need AEW to exist because there's only one big option. And I like the idea of multiple good options, So it's like you want it to work out.
When there's multiple good options on the food menu, it makes me happy. I get to eat better. I get to choose what I want, right?
Yeah.
So it makes for a better experience. And yeah, that's just real life, man.
And you just got to remember the big thing that people do not talk about is, if this happened in WWE where you were watching Raw on Netflix and it just randomly cut off to like Jake Paul documentary or something, you'd be like, what the hell is going on?
Facts.
And then you would even be more pissed when you realized, oh my God, they didn't even upload the rest of the show.
Exactly.
Like, that would be pretty shitty. So definitely something to think about. Shout out to Jose Martinez for those super chats. Seleno Channel coming through with 40 rupees. He says Jordan Devlin became JD McDonough. Cobb became JC Mateo. I don't want to spend too much time talking about the JC Mateo thing. I already talked about it in a video. But for those who missed it on SmackDown, Jeff Cobb is now called JC Mateo. There's only two issues that I had. One, when Solo Sikoa introduced him, he just simply called him JC. It wasn't until Jeff Cobb had his match in which commentary and ring announcer and everything, calling him JC Mateo.
Yeah.
But when Solo introduced him, he just called him JC. So I was kind of confused because the WWE trademark was JC Mateo, calling him Jeff Cobb. If you want to call him Jeff Cobb or JC for short, like, cool. That was my one issue, my first issue with it. The second issue that I had with it is that I don't necessarily care for name changes. I understand why they do it. The only thing that bothers me is, like, Jeff Cobb is 42 years old. He's not like he's built his entire brand based on being Jeff Cobb. I want to see this guy come in. Like, I see him wrestling in the black shirt and pants or whatever. Like, bro, let Jeff Cobb be Jeff Cobb. You want to change his name? That's cool. He did the Tour of Islands finisher. Cool. I have no problem with that. Fun match. Jeff Cobb looks great. But, like, let him wrestle in his singlet. If you're going to do the name change, like, let's keep him relatively the same. I don't want him to necessarily be part of the bloodline like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It was just kind of a weird change in my opinion, but name changes don't bother me too much because you get used to it anyways. Ricky Starks, Ricky Saints, Brian Pillman Jr., Lexus King, Walter, Gunther. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Jordan McDevlin, JD McDonough. Like, I remember thinking JD McDonough was such a dumb name, but now it just, like, it rolls off the tongue. It's perfect. It's fine. I don't know. JC Mateo, it's kind of like a weird thing. I'll just have to get used to it. I don't know. Like, I remember when Walter became Gunther, I did not have a problem with it. I was like, at least they kept it one word, like one name. Like, it wasn't like some random bullshit.
A lot of people despised it.
A lot of people did. And I understand why. I get it. Yeah. I'm not dumb. I understand everybody's reaction to it. But, like, for example, that would be like me getting pissed off that Sasha Banks became Mercedes Moné.
Right.
I knew Sasha Banks from NXT being Sasha Banks. So like she comes to AEW, she obviously can't be Sasha Banks. I get it. You have to change the name. Mercedes Moné, not a big deal. Do I care for the name? No. Do I think Sasha Banks was a better name? Yes. Do I think Edge is a better name than Cope? Yeah. But is it like that big of a deal? No. But at the same time, too, the difference is like when Mercedes came into AEW or Copeland came into AEW, they pretty much relatively were the same, just with a different name. I saw JC Mateo, and I'm like, man, they have him wrestling in a black shirt and black pants. Like, really? Like, why not just let him wrestle in his singlet that he always wears, the black and green one?
If you know the history of Jeff Cobb, then I can understand why people would be a little bit frustrated. I can understand why people might be taken back by the name change. I'll just be honest with you. I'm in the minority here. I am completely okay with it. Again, I think you just kind of said it best. We can sit here and be in an uproar about this name change when, truth be told, a couple weeks down the line, people are just going to forget about it anyways.
Yeah.
They're just going to, it's just going to roll off the tongue eventually, kind of like JD McDonough, going from Jordan Devlin. I mean, ultimately, it just rolls off the tongue. Ricky Saints, to Ricky Starks or whatever. Like, I think people like to make an uproar about things that maybe aren't as big as they seem. I understand that people can get frustrated with these things. Yeah. They're allowed to, I'm not saying that. But I just ultimately think at the end of the day, like, it is what it is. JC Mateo, JC, Jeff Cobb, whoever, at the end of the day, he's still going out there. He's still doing everything that Jeff Cobb did. And I think, it's obviously a new viewing experience.
Yeah.
But again, this is somebody who's just working. You know what I mean?
And I want to throw this out there because name changes really for me when they pissed me off was Michael McGillicuddy. So the wrestling old had mentioned that in the chat. But then it was crazy because when he became Curtis Axel, I remember social media at the time being a very big uproar about that. They're like, why not just call him Joe Hennig? And I'm like, no. Like Curtis Axel's
almost like
cool.
It's almost like Braun Breaker being a Steiner. Like people were in an uproar that he wasn't named a Steiner.
And I get it. I understand it. I'm never going to shit on somebody and say I don't get it. I understand. To me, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it was just the way more so as how he was presented. It was like, okay, you're kind of stripping away who Jeff Cobb is.
If you're taking away, okay, so you're taking away the singlet, and that, like that is obviously like a visual thing that people know Jeff Cobb for. But again, you talked about the finisher and how he did the finisher. You can't necessarily change somebody's style of wrestling. But if you're just changing their look, and again, black pants, black shirt, like it, ultimately those things people will just become visually used to at one point. Again, you'll have your people that get in an uproar about it. That just naturally happens. Yeah. But at the end of the day, a person like me, I'll be completely fine with it. I'll move forward with it. You know what I mean? Again, it's all about letting things play out. And maybe this is just another way of letting things play out ultimately for the match with, Jacob Fatu and JC Mateo, right?
Yeah. It's just going to take some time to get used to. Like I said, I think my issue was this, and I have to be honest, right? I'm not mad about it. I'm not tripping about it. And I understand why people are. I get both sides of the spectrum. To me, it's not that big of a deal. My issue really came down to, I was hoping when he came in, it wasn't like, oh, he's just another Bloodline member. And it feels like he is. It feels like he's only been brought in because of the Solo Sikoa thing. Right. And I don't know if I'm not going to jump the gun, but it's like, don't change this guy too much. Let him be like, when he did the tour of the islands, I was very happy about that. And I thought it was cool. Whatever. Like, let's see what happens,
But again, I ultimately think like the end goal and the reason why they did it is because they want that Jacob Fatu, Jeff Cobb, JC Mateo, they want that feud.
Yeah.
And I think that's ultimately what it's going to lead to. Again, it's just letting things play out at the end of the day.
I get it. I know. I definitely get it.
Yeah.
And we'll see kind of how it all pans out. But
yeah.
Shout out to Tolino Chow for the super chat. Adam dropping a $5 super chat. He says, I think this was WBD and AEW's fault. It was just one of those things, and watch the final 30 minutes of Collision thanks to other sources. DYA. I don't know what DYA stands for. So my apologies for that. And thanks to other sources, I don't know. I don't know what other sources there are. I just know the source that I pay for should be providing it to me. I shouldn't have to go and find any ways around that, because I'm a
Yeah, I shouldn't have
consumer.
to be. I shouldn't have to be searching.
It should just be accessible to me if that's what I
Right.
pay for.
Right. Exactly.
That's the thing, right? When you pay for a cable service, it's a little bit different because you're paying for a whole bunch of different TV packages and stuff like that. You're not paying for the add-on for TBS or TNT. When you pay for the Max streaming service, you're paying it with the intention of getting a certain product from it, right? And that's the thing with streaming services that actually it's kind of shitty. And this is all of them. It's not just HBO Max. It's Netflix and Apple and Amazon, whatever. But it goes back to that argument that I made about physical copies of things. Netflix and all these companies, they're just basically leasing content to you with the ability to click on it and stream it. You don't own it. So you're paying them to basically get rentals that are accessible 24/7. But at any point in time that they don't want it on there, they could knock it out and be like, well, F you, we're taking this off. And I don't like that. I don't like that. I do not like it. It's similar to what they're doing with like Xbox Game Pass. I don't know if anybody is aware of it, but you could pay $20 and get Game Pass Ultimate, which provides a whole bunch of games and stuff that you could download. It's like a huge library. And then what makes it actually really annoying and really shitty is the fact that if they want to remove the game from the Game Pass, they could. And you don't own it. And it's such BS. This whole subscription model for everything is such a joke. I hate it so much. So it's like, I hate it when it impacts me. And there has been shows that I used to watch on Netflix that were removed. So now you're adding technical issues with HBO Max, and it's a service that I'm not really watching much of anything.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, dude, I don't know. To me, it's a big, big blunder. One of the reasons why I even subscribed to HBO Max was during the pandemic, by the way. You couldn't go to movie theaters. So if you want to watch
HBO Max, they were delivering you movies.
Bro, Christmas Day, it's like a normal tradition in America. I don't know how it is globally, but in America, it is very normal for Christmas Day, for movies to launch on Christmas Day, and people would go to movie theaters, right? Nobody works on Christmas Day. It's like you could go at midnight. When the pandemic hit, HBO Max was like, well, hold on. We had the Wonder Woman movie. They had a couple movies coming out. And immediately at midnight, they just made it available to everybody on streaming. And
so they played a huge part during that pandemic.
Huge part for me, like a lifesaver type thing, because I remember at the time, I used to, not that I was really big into the movie theaters, but it was one of those things where I kind of looked at it from the perspective of like, I probably wouldn't have watched the Wonder Woman movie. I probably wouldn't watch this movie or that movie,
but it's available. Accessible.
Yes, but it was accessible to me, right? Yeah. So now it's not necessarily like that. I'm not watching as much as I used to. So again, if it doesn't work, I shouldn't have to go find other resources for me to be able to watch it. And AEW is lucky that it was an episode of Collision, by the way, because if it was a pay-per-view or if it was Dynamite, it's completely different.
Different story.
Then you got to offer people refunds and
right.
Shit. Like you can't, but it is what it is. It's strange. I don't know why, but
it is what it is.
Yeah. Crazy, bro. Adam also followed up with that super chat for $2. He says it wasn't WBD and AEW's fault at all. It was 1OTTYK. I don't know what this means, bro.
I don't know.
What does that mean, Adam?
Adam,
you got to help me out here, buddy. I'm trying to understand.
What's 10TT, 10TT? And I know YK is,
10TTYK. I just Googled it because I'm an idiot. What does 10TT mean? Right? Or is that 1OTT?
Oh, it means one of those things,
Man, what? Oh my God. Adam, how old are you?
Bro, there's no way I am not this out of touch. Is there like a abbreviation for everything now?
Brother, I turned 31 last Tuesday. I've never seen this in 31 years of my life. So you guys are telling me I'm getting old, bro.
I'm 27, so
that's crazy.
I remember when like LOL, LMAO, I remember when all those were a thing. I still use those on a daily basis, but is that one OTT? One of those things. I would have never once thought.
I have no idea. But shout out to Adam.
Yeah, big shout out, Adam.
Shout out to Adam. It was a $2 super chat. I couldn't fit those in. Sorry, guys. No,
you're good, bro.
You're good. You're good, brother. I appreciate the clarity because I just had no idea. So thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, what I will say is it was a technical issue that ruined the service, and it just kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's it.
Billy, did you watch Tiffany Stratton and Nia Jax?
Yeah, dude, I watched it. I watched it live.
That was a WrestleMania match, bro.
Yeah, it was. They put on fucking banger.
That should have been the match for WrestleMania. Tiffany versus Nia. Dude. They have chemistry like no other, bro. That was sick.
Do you remember when Nia used to get so much hate?
Yeah.
Like, it is incredible seeing the growth that she has had under the umbrella of Triple H.
You can't have I don't think people could legitimately have a conversation about Nia not being awesome. Like, she is so good, bro. She, the thing is, I like Nia even before she left WWE. For
sure.
But it would be unfair for me to not even point out how great she has become. Mm-hmm. Just a really big improvement. Her and Tiffany, I don't know what their relationship is like outside of the ring, but it just feels like both of them work really good together. There is a very funny moment too where Tiffany, it's the chair shot with Nia.
Well, did you seen how real that was, right?
Very real. That was a moment for me that I think actually legitimized Nia the same way that Becky became the man,
Yes, because she took that chair shot straight to the dome. I mean, her face, bro, you could see it. I mean, it was gushing blood.
So what do you think they should do with Nia moving forward?
They need to legitimize her as more of a dog fighter, right? Like somebody who's willing to go to the scrapyard with somebody. I think that is the best way that you can utilize Nia Jax. You utilize Nia, and I get it. We've seen a lot of like the MMA style stuff, and maybe you don't go that direction, but she's willing to fight legitimately anybody, anytime, any place. Because I'm here to tell you, people are going to be very, very, very behind everything that she is now doing because of the match that she put on and then the beating that she legitimately took.
Yeah.
So I think you have to give her that role.
So here's the thing, man. I'm watching this Bloodline stuff. I'm watching Jacob and Solo. I'm watching JC Mateo. I'm watching all this stuff currently happen on television on SmackDown. I actually want to see Nia Jax officially, formally join this Bloodline. Like, I want to see her. Like, I don't know what it is about her, but she's so dope, bro. And I want to see her somehow align with Solo Sikoa. And I don't care what anybody says. I'm not taking no slander for Solo Sikoa. This guy is becoming such a funny part of SmackDown. Like, I'm enjoying his work. And it would be really dope to see Solo Sikoa and his comedy because he does actually have some pretty good comedic timing. I would love to see Solo Sikoa. I would love to see this guy have Nia kind of like fight his battles, bro. So I don't know what it is. I want to see it.
So I said it in one of the videos that I did recently, but we kind of talked earlier about that like great counterpart, like how Naomi would be like a great counterpart to Tiffany. Solo is just that to Jacob, I think. When we discussed, initially when Jacob Fatu was coming into the WWE, we were like, oh man, they're going to be like torn between these two, because Solo became that initial leader, and here comes Jacob, and technically we all knew people were going to get more behind Jacob than they were Solo initially, but how they've utilized it and turned it, Solo has become his own main focus, and I think that is so dope. Solo has become he's the great counterpart to Jacob. They're one and the same now, technically.
Yeah.
It's awesome to see. I love it.
I love it, man. I hope they do something big with Nia. What a phenomenal match. Just a really very
amazing main event, man.
Just so good, man. Just to me, that was it just don't get better than that. Nia Jax, like, she's shown so much improvement. She's gotten so much better. But just a really good, like, to me, it just feels like Tiffany's match with Charlotte has just kind of been left in the past now, and it's like great for Tiffany.
Yeah,
like she's kind of got away from that stink with Charlotte.
right.
And we'll see what happens. Obviously with SmackDown, a lot of things are improving. The tag team division's on fire. The women's division is cooking. They added Julia to the mix. Now I look forward to seeing what else they do. Yep. There's been all this talk about Collision today, and I just kind of want to remind everybody the solution to everything. Let's get SmackDown off of Fridays. Let's get Collision off of Saturdays. Everything will be better.
You heard it.
I think that's the perfect place to end here, unless anybody has other super chats that they want to drop. I know DRecTube is literally coming in at the buzzer. Yep. Get your super chats in now before we end the show. DRecTube dropping $5. He says Solo's character should become Suge Knight meets Roman. That's an interesting take. Billy's got his hands up, thrown up. I don't know, Billy,
because I can analyze this as a music person, right?
Floor is yours, buddy.
I think that is actually a really good comparison. He's the boss man, but nobody touches the boss man, right? Nobody can put their hands on me. So you have people in front of you, which we've seen numerous times, but it's the way Solo moves, how he's wearing the gloves and he's got the suit on, things of that nature. I think DRecTube, that's what we're seeing. And I think once the Tongans come back, Tonga Loa and then Tama Tonga, I think once those two come back, I think you'll start to see a little bit more of that. Eventually they'll split away from them, but Ango brought up Nia Jax potentially being that person, come and fight some of the battles. I think you're going to start, it's going to be hard without calling him the head of the table, right? Because I don't want to call him the head of the table. We've already done that. I don't want him to be that. I just want him to be the guy that nobody can get to.
I love how you said that. And do you remember when they did the vignettes with Solo and Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu and Tonga Loa backstage? Like it's all dark at the table, mob boss type shit. Yeah. Like that to me is like, I like it. I like Solo Sikoa. I like the fact that Solo Sikoa is in a prominent position without necessarily forcing us to watch him hold the world title.
Exactly. And he feels important.
Yeah, he feels important. Like it doesn't get better than that, bro. He's literally a guy from NXT 2.0 who's figured out a way to come in, He could be right now. He could be the street champion that he was in NXT, fighting in the mid card, or he could be a guy that's held in a prominent position in a very prominent storyline without having to, like I said, forcing us to watch him hold the world championship or something.
Facts. Yes.
So yeah, it's cool, man. Shout out to DRecTube for the super chat. I think that's the perfect way to. I think that's the perfect way to end the show. Honestly, it was a fun stream. I really appreciate everybody showing up. Yep. I appreciate Tolino Channel, Jose Martinez, Adam, Myron, and DRecTube for the super chats. We appreciate it. The super chat goal has been reached. I appreciate everybody in the chat, Darth Bane and Superman Bass Fisher and Sharon and Leaping Lanny Pofo and Anthony Phillips and Fernando and everybody else, man. Shout out to you guys, Phil. Appreciate it, guys. I think we'll end the stream here. Billy will be live tonight for a WWE Raw watch along. Yeah.
Yep.
And so make sure you guys check him out when he does that. I'll keep you guys covered with more videos and all that good stuff. And yeah, man. Thank you guys. Oh, I just realized I wasn't even on screen.
I was like, he's telling me all this, and it's just me, and I'm just kind of looking.
Well, you guys have to look at Billy for a few minutes. Not that
That's
big.
All right.
Exactly. But I'm here. So yeah, man. Appreciate y'all. Billy, I'll see you, buddy. Thank you. And everybody else, take care. Have a wonderful night. And thanks for watching. What a great show.
Peace.